Enchanted Life, and today this video is about speaking up for yourself. And it's coming from a different lens because I've been there's a lot going on, but and I went live earlier in the car, but nobody could hear me, so I'm recording this one now. I'm stationary, and I have a microphone, but I just don't feel like plugging it in. I think that you could probably hear me just fine for this particular video, so I'll just get started talking. So this video really briefly is about speaking up for yourself. I'm gonna take off my glasses. I don't need those. Um, but the reason I want to talk about this particular subject tonight about speaking up for yourself is because this is the most recent experience that I've had with this challenge of speaking up for oneself. So a few weeks ago, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, a few weeks ago I made a video about confidence and creativity. Well, I've been broaching the different subjects about confidence. I've been talking about creativity. Um, but there was one particular week. So backstory is that I do improvisational comedy at times, and rather intermittently for the past, ooh, it'll probably be a year and a half, or maybe at least 18, maybe it's been 2 years, but I do improv comedy off and on. And more recently I was involved in a comedy class in which it was a level 3 class, and it was with a group that I had never been with before or played with. And um, anyway, long story short, let me just get into it. So a few weeks ago, this would have been around November, December mark, we were going to have a improv class show. And one of the issues that I had been dealing with, well, there were a couple of different things. I wasn't really feeling the improv that go around. And one of the issues that I was having was I did not necessarily feel included in that particular class group, because there was a group of people who had been in classes together before, and I was like the newcomer. Me and another person at that time were newcomers to that particular group. So with something like improv, people try to like stay in their cohort type classes. And of course, with things like that, cliques can form in a class, or people get used to playing scenes with one another, right? So I'm in this group with people who already know each other, or I was in this class with people who already knew each other back in the fall of last year. And while I was participatory in the class, hello, while I'm talking about speaking up for yourself. Um, and I'm talking about in the fall, whenever I was in an improv class, and the people who were other members of the class, they knew one another. So I was kind of like the newcomer in the group, um, that would play scenes with them. But one of the things that I noticed as weeks had gone by in this particular class I was involved in was that normally whenever we would do an improv, a new week, let's say it was a new week, and we would do a new week worth of instruction. You get your block of instruction and then you go. And by go, what I mean is you act, or you do the improvisational games that you were instructed on. And one of the things that I noticed would be that whenever I would get up and want to participate and do a scene with someone, or other people would kind of stay behind as if they didn't want to work in a scene with me. And I'm the type of person where I'm like, well, we're all learning here. So I'm open to do a scene with anybody because we've all received the same block of instruction, the directions for the game that we're going to participate in. And let's just go and see how it goes. But one of the things that I noticed over participating in this particular class would be that people didn't want to volunteer. It appeared to me over time that people were not voluntarily picking time periods to be in a scene with me. Like whenever I decided that I would wanted to get up and participate in a game, the other people, some of the other classmates would not get up and want to participate, even though they would not have gone and taken their turn yet. It was a type of thing where everybody would take a turn with with doing a scene, and we would all get to play in a different scene, and every scene is different and unique. But one of the things I noticed is that people were not volunteering to be in scenes with me. So I began to notice this over a couple of weeks' time. And I'm surprised that my instructor did not notice that either, because there was a difference to me between being comfortable and familiar with working with someone in a scene, which I'm like, okay, if this is a level 3 class and you guys have been in 2 classes together, then you already know how to work in a scene with each other. But I didn't feel as if the other classmates were allowing it to be an inclusive experience for people who were not in other classes with them. Like I said, it was 2 of us that had never been in classes with them versus how many of them were there? There were 10 of them that had already been in classes with one another. So, in a situation where it's 10 versus 2, and I'm one of the 2, and I volunteer to get up and do a scene, my thinking is it's more of you than it is of me. Somebody got to volunteer to be in a damn scene with me. But I was surprised that the instructor at the last go round did not notice this. Hello. So, anywho, weeks had gone by, and I never said anything to the instructor about my level of comfortability with the fact that people were not voluntarily wanting to do scenes with me. Even though I was volunteering to do scenes with other people, it seemed as if people were kind of lagging behind and not wanting to do scene work with me during the improv comedy sessions. So I never said anything the last session, and or the last class session. And what ended up happening was we had Thanksgiving break, which was we had Thanksgiving break, which brought which I thought that I was under the impression that after the Thanksgiving break we were going to have our class show. Anytime we sign up for the improv, we learn the block of instruction for 8 weeks, and then after the 8 weeks we do an improv comedy show. So I thought that the comedy show was going to be 1 week after Thanksgiving, but I did not go. I didn't show up for that class because I was thinking like, okay, well, why do I want to participate in this? Nobody volunteers to be in a scene with me any damn way, and the instructor is not proactive in saying, hey, such and such, you do the scene with her or whatever. So I just felt as if I was isolated in that group. Okay, so that's the backstory to all of this. All right, so what ended up happening, I stopped kind of going to classes because there was one particular day that I was really not feeling like doing. Oh, you get bullied at school. I'm so sorry to hear that. Um, and while you know what, this can translate to this scenario about speaking up for oneself can translate to being bullied in school, not directly, probably more so indirectly. So I'll briefly explain the rest of that backstory, because this is not necessarily about bullying, but it is about inclusion. This is a storyline about inclusion and speaking up for oneself along the lines of inclusion. So I will say this: in the improv community, it's not very diverse. And I know diversity gets a bad word lately, but um, diversity is very important. It's actually the fabric of America. So anybody that poo poos diversity is kind of like, okay, that's different. But there's a kind of a lack of diversity in the improv community. So I noticed that I was one of the more diverse members, and other people who other people were not volunteering to be in scenes with me. I'm gonna just call a spade a spade. That's really what it was. That was what it boiled down to. It's more of the other class members than it is me. And there was a diversity issue. So I feel like the volunteering or the lack of volunteering to be in a scene with me, I kind of got the vibe that people didn't want to work in scenes with me. that was what I felt. That's what I internalized. That's what I feel like I was observing at that time. But I never said anything. I just kind of, one day I wasn't feeling like going, and I was talking. I did a video on, I think it wasn't a live video, but I did a video on my channel talking about how I felt that I wasn't feeling confident about being in improv at that time. And there was a particular day I can remember where I had decided that, or I wondered, did I want to go to a place, did I want to go to improv that night in a space or place where I did not necessarily feel comfortable, because other people were not volunteering to interact with me, even though it's a voluntary activity. I wasn't feeling confident there. I felt like I was more confident in the pottery studio. So one day I made a decision. Am I going to go to improvisation, or am I going to go to the pottery studio? I chose the pottery studio because it was where I felt most comfortable because of the things that I was experiencing being in improvisation. And I'm not ignoring you, Carolyn. We could dive into what you just mentioned, after I relay this. Uh, so that was then. I ended up not participating in the class show. I did have one of the members of the class that was in the group chat, because we had a running group chat. Somebody had checked up on me, I think, the week of the show, because I decided I wasn't participating in the show either, because I did not feel that the group was cohesive. We had not worked out show dynamics or logistics. So we didn't know, I didn't know what we were doing. And I didn't know how anything would come together, because I'm like, we still got motherfuckers that don't want to be in a scene with me. So, like, how is this going to go? I wasn't feeling comfortable in the group, even though I um, was willing to work with other people. Long story short, didn't participate in the show. I had somebody reach out to me and ask me if I was showing up. I'm thinking, like, why are you reaching out to me now? You weren't reaching out to me whenever the people wasn't volunteering to work in the scene with me, but you want to reach out to me and ask me, am I coming to the group show? Like, kick rocks, girl. So, anywho, fast forward, I had decided I was going to sign up again for improv. Okay. Now, I thought that I was signing up for level 3 improv. Reading is fundamental, because I did get an email saying that I was going to be in the next improv class, which started tonight. I get in the class, and all of the same people that were in the last class are in this class tonight. Can you imagine? I just was looking to myself like, what the hell? Why is all of the same people from the last class in this class? What's going on here? So they were like, oh yeah, we're in this class. And I was just thinking, like, well, how? This is level 3 improv. And they were like, well, no, it's not, it's level 4. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, there are 2 rooms in the building. So I go to the other room. And then I asked the people in the other room, like, hi, are you here for improv 3? And they're like, no, that's the other room. And I'm thinking, like, don't tell me I'm in the same class with these same MFs that wasn't volunteering to be in the scene with me. Yes, I was in the same class this go round with the same people that were not volunteering to be in scenes with me the last time. So you can imagine my disdain and disappointment at 7 p.m. whenever I walked into the classroom and I saw the same MFs that weren't volunteering to be in scenes with me. And I just was so, do a backflip. Get off my channel. Um, I'm sorry. I'm talking about something. I'm talking about something that's important. Get off my channel if you playing on my channel, because I'm talking about speaking up for oneself. So long story short, I get in the class tonight. I see the same people. You about to get blocked, Hedge Medge. Remove. Give me 1 second while I block this user. Talking about doing a front flip and a back flip. Get off my channel. So I was surprised to see the same people from the same class as the last go round. And that's whenever I realized, like, oh, this was improv 4 that I was signed up for. So I go back to the email and I see, sure enough, it was improv 4. I was in the right place, even though I thought I was in the wrong place. Saving grace was that the instructor that I'm having this go round, um, he seems a little bit more perceptive. And at the end of the night, I did have to stay a little after, because what I did tonight was I relayed to the new instructor that, hey, I was feeling a little uncomfortable whenever I first walked into the classroom, because everybody was the same people that I was in the class with a couple months ago. And then I explained to him some of the issues that I had a couple months ago with the classmates. Um, and uh, in that moment, I was so glad that I spoke up for myself and just indicated that, hey, I was uncomfortable about being in this class because the same people that did not volunteer to be in scenes with me, which was the majority of them, were in the same class from tonight. And I was feeling uncomfortable because I saw the same people that didn't want to participate in scenes with me previously. So I think that by me explaining that to him and telling him that I really enjoy and appreciate it whenever he decided that he was going to assign us to scenes, because to me, him I felt that he was more perceptive. By him sometimes assigning us to scenes, it removed me from having to put myself out there and decide I wanted to be in a scene for somebody to not want to be in a scene with me. Whenever the instructor picks who is going to be in the scene together, you have no choice. So you just have to go and you have to work with whoever they assign you with. In an environment where people know one another, or the environment is a little bit more homogenous, doing different random assignment things like that is more helpful for the group, because it means that, oh, you can't click up like you normally would. You got to participate with this new person and just figure it out together at the same time. So I was really glad that I spoke up for myself today in that regard, because I think that sometimes if you don't speak up for yourself in a way that is authentic to you, you miss out. So there are a couple things that went along with this. Last year, or within the past couple months, I missed out on the opportunity to do an improv show because I didn't speak up about the experiences that I was having the last go round. So that improv instructor is probably walking around thinking that she did the best job she could, whenever it's like, well, no, lady, you could have assigned us scenes and you wouldn't have you wouldn't have had me feeling a particular way about people not wanting to be in a scene with me. Like, once I noticed that, I should have spoken up for myself in that regard. And I was, again, sometimes it takes you a little while to figure out what it is that you're experiencing. But once I outlined and identified that that was exactly what I was experiencing, I really should have said something about that a couple months ago. Um, okay. So enough about that. I wanted to go to, I see somebody in the chat that says this, that says that they've been being bullied at school. Now I'm not a therapist or counselor or anything, so I'm gonna just read what I'm seeing here. It says, sometimes I get bullied at my school, because we're talking about speaking up. So a person says, sometimes I get bullied at my school. It says, this one boy at school, he made fun of me because I look like a particular ethnic group, even though I'm not that particular ethnic group. I'm a different ethnic group. And the boy took my bag with my phone. Then he took my phone and then broke it. Oh my. Um, were you able to report that incident to any higher ups at the school? Did you report that at all? And then the next message I see is, sometimes I wish I was more popular at school. The girls at my school don't like me. We were going on a field trip and all of the seats were taken and I was sitting all by myself. Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm so sorry to hear that, and sorry that you're experiencing something like that at school. Can I ask what grade you're in? I don't want to ask your age. Please do not reveal your age, but can I ask what grade level that you're in? Because my channel normally doesn't market to children, but what grade level are you in? Because that those are subjects about she can't really speak up, just too shy, and kids make fun of you. Seventh grade. Okay. Seventh grade. Let's see. Okay, so seventh grade. Let me put myself back in seventh grade mode. What was I like back in seventh grade? Just so I could maybe try to give you a little bit of encouragement about what you're experiencing. One thing I will say is that that too shall pass. I think whenever you're a kid, you don't necessarily realize how, I will say at that age, school was everything. And what I mean by that is school was life, because as a kid, you have three things. You have school, you have family, and you have play. Okay? So school is a big part and portion of your day. And if you're experiencing things like bullying in a school environment, you should most definitely get your parents involved in what's going on with you. And you may want to seek the assistance of a trusted advisor at the school that might be able to advocate for you in those instances and scenarios. And I think that in that grade, as a seventh grader, those two things might be the best course of action that you could do in order for you to have a little bit of a better experience at school. Is there something like a guidance counselor at your school that you're at, Miss Carolyn? Hello. To anyone who's just tuning in, if there's a guidance counselor of any sort at the school that you're at, that would be a good avenue as well to speak to someone about some of the things that's going on at school. Um, One of the things, again, as a seventh grader, school was everything. Yes, there's a guidance counselor. Okay, good. If there's a guidance counselor, I recommend that you get that guidance counselor involved in what's going on with you, so that they could give you some guidance, child, on what it is that you need to do to protect yourself from bullies. Um, Let me think. Whenever I was when I was in the seventh grade, I did not deal with bullies, but I did deal with bullies whenever I was in the first and second grade, actually. I dealt with bullies, and the bullies at that time, there was a school. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. So there was a school that I went to in Detroit. I won't name the school, but the school was near it was near a neighborhood called the Projects. Well, the projects aren't a neighborhood, but the projects are a housing development. We would call them the projects, but it was basically a housing development. And the school was near the housing development. There were a lot of kids who were from the housing development, and my family was not from that housing development. There were quite a few kids who were from that housing development, quite a few kids at the school that were not from that housing development. I didn't grow up in that housing development. So, rightly so, because we were different than a lot of the kids that went to the school, because they lived in that particular neighborhood. We were outsiders, if you will, um, because we did not know the people. We did not know them personally. They didn't know us. So sometimes people, whenever they don't know something, they, how do I say, people fear what they don't know. Okay, people fear what they don't know. And sometimes people are just straight up ignorant. There's that also. People fear what they don't know, and then people are also ignorant. And in that, while I was at school one day, I don't even remember what it was that happened. Sometimes my older brother sometimes messes with me. My mom told me he's just messing with me, so it's not a big deal, but it hurts me. I would urge you to tell your mom about how you're feeling about your brother messing with you. Um, and that might be a private conversation that you might have to have with mom, um, outside of, you know, outside of like that would be a mom to mom I mean, that would be a you to mom conversation that doesn't necessarily involve the brother also being there. Maybe direct dialogue with your mom about something like that, because that's never fun too. Sometimes sibling rivalries do exist, but that's not good. I Stuff like that needs to get nipped in the bud pretty quickly. But I'll just go on real quick about the bullies. One particular day, I happened to be in the bathroom, and these two girls that lived in the housing projects, I was in the first grade, I think. These two girls that lived in the housing projects, they came in the bathroom. They didn't even have to use the bathroom, and I think I was actually in a bathroom stall. And I was coming out of the stall, and as I was coming out of the stall, they decided that they were going to mess with me and bother me. And um, while they were, I guess first it was taunting. Then whenever I wasn't responding to the taunting, it was then they wanted to push and shove. And I don't know, like I'm always been like a peaceful person, and my parents, they always taught the message of nonviolence, because um, they were coming up around the time of the civil rights movement, and Martin Luther King talked about nonviolent, peaceful protests. So my parents are on the peaceful end of things. So we always kind of learned to turn the other cheek. Um, so along those lines, I didn't really, I wasn't a fighter like that. So, and sometimes, yeah, I wasn't a fighter like that. These kids were like fighters. I guess they were like in survival mode daily. I don't know, but I didn't grow up like that, so we didn't fight and stuff like that. Long story short, they wanted to push and shove, and they pushed and shoved me back into the stall, and I fell, and I hit my head on the fell, and I hit my head on the toilet seat, actually, as I fell. And after that incident, I did tell a teacher. I told the teacher about what had happened in the restroom, and how they were, basically bullying me in the restroom. And I had to enlist the help of a teacher. And I did not fight back. I think both of the girls, I think they got suspended. And there was talk about expelling them from the school, but I don't think that was the final course of action. But they did get suspended from school. Um, you said, I'm just going through stuff in my life. I'm the middle child. I have a younger sister and older brother, and my mom tells me to do every chore, but my other siblings get to do nothing. Oh, that's rough. Um, that's so rough. Um, well, what would I recommend? I would still recommend having a conversation with your mom about stuff like that. Because unfortunately, I'm not a counselor or anything. But I'm just giving like practical things that I think might be able to help your scenario. I would enlist the help of a trusted adult, and that trusted adult in the scenario at home would be mom, would be your mom. And then at school, the trusted adult would be the guidance counselor. If you're getting bullied at school, guidance counselor. You want to talk about the issues at home, get with your mom about that. Level with her about what's going on with you. And you say your story sounds sad and painful. I feel sorry for you. Oh no, Miss Carolyn, no need to feel sorry. Um, at that time, whenever I was in the first grade, it was, I was really upset about something like that. But now, I'm, how old was I whenever I was in the first grade? I was 6. I'm 40 now. That was 34 years ago. So, my advice to you for sure would be, honey, what you're going through, that too shall pass. Okay? That too shall pass. And no need to feel sorry for me or about what happened. All that's in the past. Honey, I'm new. I'm new, hunty. Honey. I don't know about people that are watching my channel, but God gives mercy every day. God gives mercies daily. Okay. So how many days ago can you imagine that was? If I was 6 then, I'm 40 now. If God gives mercy every day, do you know how many days I've had since 6-year-old me? 34 times 365. That means I got mercy and grace many times over. So I'm good. I was just sharing that experience to relay about a situation that I had where I was bullied, but that I enlisted the help of a trusted adult, and the trusted adult handled it for me. Um, yes, I could have tried to handle it myself, but sometimes whenever you try to handle things yourself, it doesn't go well as you thought. So sometimes you just need uh, a mediator. Sometimes you need an additional person to get involved so that they can kind of mitigate or spearhead whatever it is that needs to occur for change to occur. But so, along those lines, based on what I'm saying, speaking up for yourself is absolutely the thing that you should do. Sometimes speaking up for yourself does not necessarily mean that you confront the other party or the other person. That's not what speaking up for yourself means sometimes. Sometimes it means speaking up by talking to somebody else who can assist you, and then you getting the assistance from that person for them to help you in whatever it is that you got going on. So, along those lines, you need to probably speak up for yourself by talking to your mom and talking to your guidance counselor. Okay, it says my mom doesn't do anything. Let sister and brother get lazy while I'm the one who actually does the chores and focus on school. Ugh, that's dicey. I mean, because on one hand, you're supposed to do as you're told, as your parents tell you to do. But I would still encourage you to have the conversation with your mom. Beyond that, I'm not really able to advise on something like that. Do you pray? Is that something that your household deals in? Are you a prayerful home? Um, do you all go to church or fellowship in any regard? If so, um, perhaps yes, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you pray, Miss Carolyn, maybe you need to get you some good prayers. Um, and as a matter of fact, let me see. Let's see. Can I turn on the computer real quick? I would say if you're having trouble along those lines, and based on what you're saying, sounds like you may need some mediation. You don't go to church, but you do pray by yourself. Okay. Since you pray by yourself, let's here. I'm gonna look up on Google real quick. And do you have a Bible, Carolyn? Do you have a Bible? Are you familiar with the Bible? Okay. You don't go to church, but do you have a Bible at all? You do have a Bible. Good. Okay. All right. Let's look up. One second. One moment. One moment. Let's try to get you a couple of, maybe a Bible verse or something that you can. Hold on one second. One second. Since you said you have a Bible, you know how to navigate your Bible? Like how to find the different books in the Bible and stuff? Yes or no? Let's try to look at what's a good Bible verse. Oh, okay, good. You know how to navigate. Okay, good. So we in there. Okay, let's see if we can find you. Let's find you a couple of verses. Do you know the Lord's Prayer? because that's one really good one I can think of off the top of my head. If you know the Lord's Prayer, if you're having trouble with bullies, um, yeah, if you're having trouble with bullies, that's a good one. Okay, let me find. I'm trying to find. You think so? Okay. You know the Lord's Prayer where it says, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. You know that one? Okay, now let's find you. Let's Google this. Let's try to find Bible verses for kids being bullied. Okay, let's see. Okay, for kids being bullied. Oh, here's one. Here's a verse. 1 Peter 5:7. Okay, let's look up in the Bible what the verse is. Okay, it says, Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Casting all your anxiety on God because God cares for you. But let's find let me look for the King James version of that particular verse, because King James version. One moment. Why is this not working? What's wrong with my computer tonight? Okay, here we go. Here it is, 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Anyway, I have to go. I have school tomorrow. Yeah, see you later. Thank you for tuning in. The Lord's Prayer. Lord's Prayer. Get with your mom, get with the counselor, make it happen. Okay? But anywho, I guess pretty much we're wrapped up about, what I was talking about earlier about speaking up for yourself. We talked a little bit about bullies. We talked about seeking guidance and a mediator. But yeah, speaking up for yourself is very important. Sometimes you got to speak up for yourself directly, which is something that I did today. Whenever I noticed that all of the same people who did not want to participate in the activities with me in 2025 were in the class from tonight in 2026. Can you imagine my surprise? I was so like, all of y'all motherfuckers again? Y'all wasn't even participating with me last time. But anywho, thanks for tuning in. I don't know if I'll make this one public. I'm not sure yet. If I do, okay. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Check out some of my other videos that I got going on. And catch the replay if you're just now tuning in. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Bye.